Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Podcast 15. Wow. 15
hours a year.
You've had a lot more than 15 hours. So I'd like to thank everybody who's made it here to podcast 15. We deeply appreciate you. All 313 of you. We're doing bloody well, Chris. Nearly 1,000. We're going to get there. If you haven't seen us, like and subscribe, please do. We deeply appreciate it. We are hoping to build a political platform that allows us to critique our political elite so that they can be held more accountable for us. But let's get on with our subjects. Chris is going to start off with his subjects to start with, and then I'll roll off mine, and then we'll backwards and forwards as you'd expect.
I thought we was going to cover it one by one.
All right, we'll do that. I'm not fussed.
Toss it up, innit? Make it different.
All right, okay. Yeah. Then we'll do that then.
All right, start off today. It's obviously the lovely rise of the car tax rules from the 1st of April, which I think some parts okay about time, others I'm like absolutely disgusting. About time they started charging the EV cars road tax.
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely. The electric industry needs to start putting its foot into the bill.
Much needed and about time. Unfortunately, that does mean rising car tax for the rest of us that drive normal cars.
Bloody nightmare.
Yeah.
Talking about rising taxes, the council tax and energy bills rise will hit single parents the hardest from April this year. There's a series of essential household bills are rising across effectively at the start of literally the month that we are recording this video, the 1st of April. No, that is not an April Fool's. It is unfortunately a very real reality. It is water bills, energy prices, council tax, they're all going up across the entire fucking board, horrifically so. 𝐾𝐨⁻ the rather incompetent Prime Minister we have on domestic policy. I give the Prime Minister his due on foreign. He's actually quite good at it. On domestic, I think the Labour government has horrifically failed us. Your next subject, Chris?
I know, it's just a bit more detail on the car tax. Obviously, the EVs will start paying, well, their free status will be revoked, and most will be paying from 2029, 2030.
29? Why waiting until 20
But no, this is when when everything will be fully set in motion, but it'll be more likely the zero emission cars will have to pay minimum of £10, starting off from there. Obviously, cars emitting 1 to 50 grams of CO2 will pay £110.
Jesus.
Starting this year. So from now, literally anything from 51 to 75 is going up to 130. And then obviously annual rates after the first year, all cars will pay £195. So basically any new cars at the moment will have a slightly discounted rate, but after that all being whacked up to £195 a year. And unfortunately for the more higher end cars, it will depend on the type of car you have, and the emissions you produce depends on how much you pay. That is absolutely disgusting.
Well, this is what I said many times when we mentioned about the burden of society being held on the British people instead of the British corporations. Only since we were children in the 80s was this actually not a norm. In the 80s, companies paid their way. They paid for the roads, they paid for schools, they paid for stuff. And that is how we had a corporate-led society where the corporation actually paid for it. We don't live in a corporate-led society anymore. We don't, as in they are not providing for our society. Therefore, society, me, you, and everyone else out there on YouTube, should unquestionably have an unwritten right to dictate who should be carrying the burden. And since we apparently live in a corporate society, we apparently should have the corporations paying their bloody fair share, and they don't. They just don't. This is not leftist-leaning garbage. This is a reality of the fact that everybody has a tax break, everybody has a way of dodging tax, everybody has a code that they can get from the right kind of accounting agency. It's a feeding machine that leaves more and more of the vulnerable of Britain in the society. The charity Citizens Advice said that the finances of millions of people on the lowest incomes were already stretched to the breaking point. Many single parents in particular would struggle because of a greater proportion of the money was taken up by essential spending, it said. Lauren Ron, a single mother of 2 daughters from Cardiff, said, "Without my own mum's help, there would be some days where I would not have any electric." I mean, I have, as a Muslim, a fundamental problem with the single motherhood pandemic that's here in the UK, and I know that that's a controversial position, but it is a reality. Children were never supposed to be raised by one people. Academics, people of child psychologists have said this. Children develop better in parenting households. Now I say multi-parenting because I'm a liberal. You know what I'm saying? I have no problems if a couple of gay women have married, got a child from a previous relationship because their partner's bisexual and they're raising. It takes more than one human being to raise children. It literally does. And this is what the science has told us. So since the science has told us this, we have to have the acknowledgement that single-parent households do not work. It's a horrible thing to say. I'm not demonising the choices of these young ladies who have decided to hook up with hookup culture. That's a whole different bag of apples we'll deal with on another day. But because of the impact on single-parent households is a burden, because single-parent households are more than 50% of Britain's population's young population. Whether people like that or not, the single-parent households are more than 50% of the children being raised in the UK today.
More than 50%
More than
of
50%.
single-parent households.
More than 50%. In fact, I think my stats are wrong. I think it's more than that, and I'll just look them up.
I say, damn. When we was growing up, literally the odd single parent household was about, but it wasn't common. And these days, it seems to be almost everywhere.
3.3 million children depend children and live in single houses. 89%. I was wrong, it wasn't 55, it's 89% of all under 5-year-olds are in single parent households in the United Kingdom.
Damn.
Horrific levels. Horrific levels. So this is a burden upon society because these children will be deprived. Those children being deprived affects their ability to learn, affects their ability to be educated if they don't have enough food, support, emotion. All of this has a knock-on effect in the development of our kids. Therefore, the burden of society has to be physically shifted back to corporate, regardless whether the corporations want it shifted back or not. And these are hard conversations to have. This is one of those things that me and Chris do. We're not afraid to discuss these matters. You see, many people think Muslims are generally pro-migration. I'm not. I'm pro-sensible migration, ones where it's a point-based system that benefits our society and our people. I'm not someone who wants to leave the bloody floodgates open, and I doubt you'll see any second or third generation Muslim in the country believing in that, where their families came over lawfully. You know, during the Windrush age,
Yeah.
and when Britain needed to be rebuilt in the 50s.
This is the one thing which people seem to think when it comes to migration, that the gates are just open and they're just letting everybody in.
They're not.
They're not. It needs granted,
Legal-
it needs to be tighter in
Yeah,
control.
no.
But
Chris. The illegal migration, or as the press call it illegal, the asylum seekers are not our problem. Our problem is lawful migration. It's how many people are going to university on visas. How many people? The university visa industry is massive. Millions and millions of people come to the UK to do university, and admittedly, a lot of them do go home, but not all of them. Do you see what I'm saying? That's a lawful form of migration. Then you have the work visa groups. We have millions of people coming in from work visas, and again, a lot of them do go home, but some of them don't. That is where we're having our problems. We're having our migrational issue problems, not so much from the asylum seekers. They're just aggravating an already full house. And that's why the press are constantly on about it. The asylum seekers are desperate people. Desperate people cross boats. The Channel is not a safe place. Let's be fair. Right? You're not crossing the Channel because you have other options. Yeah, it's a desperate bid to get somewhere safe and civil, and away from those who are harming you. All right. And let's be fair. The French are fucking evil in today's society. If you've ever been to north of France, you would know their opinion on migrants. It's the brown person. Literally, the French are... Look at Le Pen right now. She's in the press right now, Le Pen, about having her being blocked from being able to get elected as president. Yeah, Le Pen's been caught or actioned. She can't run for office. Apparently, that's caused all kinds of political fucking shitstorms in France. But getting back towards my subject here in the council tax, a 41-year-old who works part-time in Asda is using emergency credit on her energy meter and regularly dips into her overdraft. I got paid last Friday and it's all gone. I just live day to day. She said her 5-year-old daughter, Prudence, brought her joy and often took her mind off the financial challenges that face. Those challenges are increasing as house prices rising kick in, the cost of TV licenses. That should be abolished. TV licenses should be abolished.
I don't know why we're paying TV license.
Most people use streaming these days. Car taxes, broadbands, phone bills are all among the things going up in costs. Among the changes, we have water bills for households are going up in England and Wales by £10 per month on average. That's a lot more in certain parts of the UK.
Depends on the area.
Yeah, it depends on the area. I mean, I can tell you now from where we are in Gloucestershire that fucking not, it's not £10.
No, it's more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Council tax bills in England are generally going up by 4.99%, with bills in Wales raising to 4.5 to 9.5, and Scotland by at least 8%. After years of cost of living pressure, households across the country are about to feel the extra shock of rising essential bills, said Damien Claris Mortaris, Chief Executive of Citizens Advice. These bills are going up because the government has to raise tax, but the government won't tax the financial services. This is fucking madness. You have to tax the financial services to pay for the essentials of society instead of placing them on the burden of 80% of the children in this country. 80% of the children are in single parent households. We're not doing the good or bad point about that. They exist. We have to deal with what is in the existence. And to deal with that, we need to take the burden off these parents. That's why you have to fucking tax the financial services.
They need to pay their fair share.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And everyone has a fucking tax dodge. Everybody has a fucking tax dodge.
Whoever works within corporations that could do it, when us blue-collar workers have no fucking tax dodge.
No. Because if you're not making a certain amount of money, the accounting company don't tell you. See, it's an invitation kind of society. It's like a fucking click.
Since you earn a certain amount, please come on in.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll make you save money so you keep more of it.
Yeah, it's beyond.
Oh, you're earning less than that, so there's no point. There's nothing I could do for you.
So you understand what I'm saying? It reaches a point where society has been lock-faced, that the weakest parts of Britain are suffering because of the actions of the corporate elite. And you need to emphasise that the corporate fucking elite are taking the piss. They are not. Remember, financial transaction tax doesn't exist. There's no transaction. So let's just put it. Chris is playing Lloyd's TSB. I'm playing NatWest. I want to transfer $1 billion worth of assets to Chris. No tax. Oh, there we go. We've just transferred them for our 2 billionaires. Oh, well, thank you very much. No transaction fee to the public. Yes, there's a cost to the billionaires via the banks, but the banks themselves do not pay a tax in that transaction. $1 billion worth of shit is moving. This is the problem we have in today's society, Britain. It is a very real financial fucking
guarantee you, if we had $1 billion actually in our account and we just done it outside of business things, we'd be taxed to fucking galore.
Absolutely. You try to move £1 billion worth of money in anything that isn't a financial transaction, you will see that the tax man will come for you. They'll be knocking on the fucking podcast door. We want to work with you, blue collar. You just moved $1 billion worth of money.
Won't he be knocking on the freaking door? It'd just be a straight up ping email. You owe us money. Fucking pay up.
Comes from me. He knows what I would do. You're not getting it. And the reason I would do that is because I want to exemplify towards the podcasters. If we make it, we are going to show you the darker side of the financial problems so that you can see, so that it can be observed. Now, of course, I think because of that, we will never get invited by the accounting companies. No, don't go near them. They're going to expose our dark sorcery. It's a joke. It really is a fucking joke. Financially speaking, we are being screwed. We are being diddled. And it's not the asylum seekers' fault. It's the fault of the fact society isn't paying via the top. And I don't mean taxing them 80-90%. I mean take away the tax breaks that everybody fucking uses. Every man and his dog has a tax break. Every single one of them. If you make more than 100 grand, you have an accounting company. I guarantee you it. I guarantee you. You do a minimum amount of research, Britain, you make more than 100 grand, I guarantee you someone has a fucking tax break. Someone has a tax code that they can give. Someone can get you to save more of your money. And that is disgusting. It's morally bankrupt. It's morally fucking bankrupt.
That's where the tax system needs to be reformed.
Absolutely. The tax entirely needs to be reformed.
We're not saying obviously charging extortion amounts on their money for the people that have actually turned around and actually gone into the business sector to make that sort of cash.
Yeah, no.
But make it fair.
But this is what I'm saying. We're not talking about taking 80% of someone's wages. We really aren't.
If anything,
we need to get the 55% that you're not paying because you're using an accounting agency to pay probably 5%. And that's the problem. Many of these large multi-corporations are paying less tax than their employees. And we know that's a thing. We know that's a thing because
that's disgusting.
Yeah, no, seriously. We know this is a thing because the system we have is the model the Americans copied, and Donald Trump said, we have tax breaks because I used them and so did Hillary Clinton's mates, the one financing her. So that is an example. Just take world politics today. Donald Trump has been stood on stage talking about how he has tax breaks for the billionaires and that he uses them. But what people don't regularly maintain is that the British system is what was modelled for the American system. Just as no British billionaire or politician would ever say, we're getting tax breaks. What Donald Trump said that time was groundbreaking. It's one of the things that made him popular. But regardless of that man-child's behaviour. Reform UK to launch local election campaigns. Let me be frank, I honestly believe Reform is a nationalist party. My reasons for that are threefold. Nigel Farage plays the role of a holy saviour very well and seems to have this almost John E. Eunuch Powell. Do you know who Powell is?
No.
No, see, you're quite young in that. Ewing Powell was the man who quoted Rivers of Blood. He was talking about ethno-wars in Britain back in the 70s.
Damn.
Yeah, he was talking about us having ethno-wars, which isn't going to happen. Standard civilised society just does not do that. You have people like me and Chris fighting for the poor, you have the rich ignoring us, you have the rest of the society just genuinely making ends meet. There is no ethno-war. This is just absolute fear-mongeringly garbage. America doesn't have ethno-wars, and she's 1,000 times more racist than the UK.
I said 10 times more bigger.
Yeah, not only just bigger, but hugely more racist. They do not have an ethno-race.
Go to Texas and you find out.
Yes, the state's like 4 times, 5 times larger than Britain. It's massive. Anyway, as I was saying, my beloved viewers, if you don't know who Powell is, please read up about him. Please. Because the idea that Nigel Farage is an echo of John Ewing Powell is a scary, scary thought that I had. He was like a mini Hitler. Now, Nigel Farage himself dresses and acts like Powell and emulates a lot of what Ewing Powell suggested. But it's not Nigel Farage I have a problem with. You see, hypothetically, Britain, let's say Nigel Farage makes it to the 10 Downing Street. He is not your problem. It's the motherfuckers riding his coattails that are his problem. These are the people that are surrounded by Nigel Farage that are a very real and conscious danger to your democracy, to your freedom, to your liberty, to your equality, to your society as a whole. Most Britons do not want black people rounded up and deported, but multiple sections of Nigel Farage's party have called for that. Mass deportation.
Why? Why did
literally?
I swear, like the good section of
Britain doesn't want
black
it.
people are British.
Absolutely, absolutely, and have been since about the 18th century.
Yeah,
hundreds of years we've had mixed race people here. So this is what Nigel Farage is literally trying to, not him himself, I quote, this is not an attack on Nigel Farage himself, but the people that gravitate to his message and the people who are helping him lift him into prime ministership. Remember, a prime minister is only a figurehead. There's an entire apparatus that falls down beside him.
He's the public face to the party behind it.
And the party behind him, I'm telling you right now, Britain, are the kind of people talking about mass deportation of ethnically born Britons who are black, brown, pink with polka dot spots, blue hairs and otherwise. They are the kind of people that will take away gay rights. They are the kind of people who will strip decades of legal support towards your personal rights away. That is who Nigel Farage's party is. Reform UK is like UKIP. UKIP was like, what's the one before that? The BNP. And the BNP are effectively the brown shirts, which were the British Nazis. So when you travel back in time and see the trends of the people who vote for these parties, you have UKIP prior to Reform, right? Some of you may remember UKIP, some of you may not, the UK Independence Party. Before them were the BNP. These are where the voters come from. I'm not talking about the personal politics of Nigel Farage or even his official politics in his party. The people who support this party are the people who come from the brown shirt era. Brown shirts, BNP, UKIP, Reform. They are the same crowd. The same crowd that believes that the only white English, Irish sometimes, Welsh maybe, and the Scottish should live on this island. You cannot run a fucking country on that kind of ethno-nationalism. And the ethno-nationalists are loud. and they would like to confuse you with what Nigel Farage's message is, but you've got to remember who are the supporters behind Farage. And that's my objections genuinely to Reform UK. And I bring a warning to you, Britain. You play with this kind of fire, you will learn what getting burnt is. Because me and Chris aren't going anywhere. I'm a 13th generation Irishman, that's Anglo-Saxon. We will be here to tell you, you voted for this. Do you understand? It will be horrible. It will be fucking horrible. Your legal, social, political rights will go out the fucking window. Farage will not be able to control this beast. He is proving that he is struggling to deal with the Reform's racists right now as he's trying to shape up for the local elections.
Hang on, he's struggling
now
to control the people that are backing him, and he isn't even Prime Minister yet.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's struggling now.
If he can't control his party
house, candidates, racists.
If he can't control his house before he gets into that sort of position, he should not be going for that position. The fact that he's able to go for that position is disgusting with that the way his house is. But then you can turn around and say that for most parties at the moment.
Yeah, no, completely. I mean, to be fair...
but this is the one that could potentially cause major damage.
This is the one that will do a lot of damage.
No, do major damage.
And that's what scares me. That scares me a great deal because of how incredibly damaging Nigel Farage... Not, again... This is not an attack specific. I could sit down and have an intellectual conversation with Nigel Farage. I'm pretty sure I could. It's not him. It's the people on his fucking coattails that scare me. From a liberal democratic point of view, they are very dangerous people who believe in conspiracy theories, like the white replacement. The white people aren't being replaced. We have a birth fucking deficit and have done our entire life. Because the burden of society sits on citizens, not the corporates. And we have had that kind of society since Margaret Thatcher. Ding dong, the bitch is dead. I know, quite an appropriate conversation. Come on, let's go over to your side then. What we got for you on the other side?
Food inflation since obviously 2016.
Jesus.
How it's been going up consistently. So rather disgustingly as well.
Pause you there. Britain, do you remember you voted in 2016 to leave the European Union that draws 80% of our food from? 80% of our food comes from Europe. Places like Romania, Poland, Czechoslovakia. No, Czechoslovakia doesn't exist anymore, doesn't it? It's the Czech Republic these days. Billah, my apologies. I'm not great with Eastern political standings.
I was going to say, that's an old one.
I'm old, all right? I'm trying to improve my country, I'm old. But we get our food from Eastern Europe, a lot of it. I'm not talking about the exotic stuff like rice and that. I'm talking about the bread. A lot of our yeast, a lot of our bread-making material and much of our cereal and huge amounts of Britain's stock of food comes from Eastern Europe. Carry on.
Just a couple of lovely little facts. Obviously, the latest data from the Office of the National Statistics finds overall inflation has increased marginally by 2.2% in 12 months up to July 2024. Bear in mind, if you think, 2.2%, that ain't too much. That is ridiculously high, seeing as fact of...
That only in 12 months, though?
Yeah, that's in 12 months, yeah. 2.2% over, I would say, 5 years. I could probably understand that, but that's still stretching it a bit. And seeing as fact of that, it reached a peak of inflating by 11.1% in October of 2022, which was the highest level in 40 years of inflation for food and non-alcoholic beverages.
Fuck.
Yeah, and it peaked at 19.2% in contrast. That is, it seems fact overall inflation peaked at only 9.1% in the US and 8.7% in Germany and 6.9% in France. Bear in mind, we peaked at 19.2%, so that's double of US, Germany and France. That is disgusting.
Boris Johnson. That is the bumbling idiot Boris Johnson. I'm the mayor of London. Boris fucking Johnson. The man was incompetent. This proves he was incompetent. That man should never be allowed near power again, and we had 14 years of fucking useless lunatics because of him.
Obviously, this does tie in with COVID. I'm not going to lie within the time frame, which I can understand the fact of obviously stuff peaking, but the amount it peaked is absolutely ridiculous. Just purely because of the fact of
the
changes that we
incompetence
wanted.
and the incompetence given by Boris Johnson. Raving incompetence. Because of COVID, we should have suspended our exit from Europe. That would have lowered our food costs. If we just suspended out of the Brexit, suspended it, and allowed our food to be sorted, and then sorted it after the end of COVID. But no one wanted to do that. No, Brexit's sacred. The people vote. No, the people were lied to.
Let's get it right. We all voted to obviously come out of the EU, which people have various reasons for doing that. But the fact that it wasn't handled correctly and necessary negotiations, talks and everything else wasn't set up.
There was never any idea how they were going to do it. Remember, Chris, the promises that Nigel Farage and his party made, and the party and the Brexit group made, evaporated. Remember, 2016 is when we voted. We didn't physically leave until 2019. They said they'd have it done in a fucking weekend. They made all kinds of thousand promises. We'd make billions back from the budget. Remember the battle bus? Yeah. Billions would be saying, no, they haven't. Where's those billions gone? We could do with them now.
Not towards us, I can tell you that right now.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So this is bollocks. This is absolute bollocks. I'm telling you that now, Britain. The food bills that have gone up since 2016, and it echoes back to why I say almost every 2 or 3 podcasts I say it. From 2016, are you poorer or richer? From 2016, has migration been raising or lowering? Overall migration, including illegal, asylum seeking and all. If you know the answer to both those questions, and you can see the answer to both those questions, why did you leave Europe? It's a genuine question to my country. I'm born here. This is my land. These are my people. My parents, my father's bones are in this fucking ground. Let me be very, very clear about that. Why did you leave? What did you benefit from it? If you can't talk about your benefit, why don't we go back? And in that regard, I genuinely believe returning to Europe will solve a huge section of our problems. Vast section of our problems.
Obviously, apart from that, that study was based on 2023 to 2024, because that was the most I could find, latest I could find.
Literally, last year.
Yeah.
So no, Chris, it's still relevant, mate. That's last year data. In the data world, last year is last year.
Yeah. Just to put like an idea of how much inflation has gone up. Obviously, since then, study was done, and literally the average price of olive oil, I know it's one of the more expensive things, but it's set to raise between £9 and 5 pence and £70 per bottle by 2030.
Bloody Jesus.
All right, let's get this right. Olive oil, I know it's one of the more preferred choices, more select choices, more expensive choices for oil to be used regarding cooking, but even now, what's about £5-6 a bottle?
No, I buy it regularly.
Yeah.
No, £7.50.
It's already in.
I buy it for cooking because I'm very careful with what oil I use because I have weight problems.
It's already at £7, and it's projected to hit almost at £17 a bottle. That is doubling, almost tripling.
Now because of now I've got to defend a little bit here. Some of that is to do with global warming. And
I'm going to say global warming does have an effect also on how
because olives are a very tricky plant to grow.
Yeah, I was going to say this is just an example of one of the things that could potentially go up. Another one is obviously vegetables.
Fucking hell, vegetable going up is bad news for everybody.
For example, broccoli, which is currently averaging £2.50 per kilo, a bit more now obviously because it's roughly a year later, set to rise to about £3.32 per kilo by 2030.
As in £33?
No, £3.32.
Oh my God! It almost gave me a fucking heart attack.
No, not 32. £3.32.
Well, the oil going up to that price means that olive oil is going to come off the market in terms of British general consumption. No Britain is going. Was that £33 a litre?
Oil.
Was that
olive oil?
Yeah.
Could go up to potentially go up to £17 per bottle by 2030.
Fuck me.
Obviously, there is obviously not just obviously about exiting EU, but also global warming factors mixed into that as well.
Yeah.
But because obviously it's more than just the EU about the food. It's about the entire thing that's going on.
Entirely,
food chain. But and another lovely shocking fact, which I'm actually disgusted at, the average basket price for men and women. Yeah. This is not going. This is based on obviously they've drawn a comparison to Tesco with their Club Card price, but literally the average woman's basket, is roughly £52 outside of the club card price. With the club card price, it's just over 50. Yeah, so not much saving, and this is going to sting the men. The average male basket outside the club card price is £56 and only dropping to just above 54 with the club card price.
Jesus wept.
Yeah, bear in mind, to put this in real perspective, the fact that it's costing that per basket when you shop, obviously depends on how you shop, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, whichever. If you shop on £54 a month monthly, I want to know how the hell you're doing it. Seriously.
Do you have a garden?
Yeah.
Are you growing your own fruit and veg?
Because literally, when I first obviously living by myself, I was able to feed myself easily for a month or two on £100. Yeah. Now, £100 would be lucky if it lasts me 3 weeks.
I spend £105 a fortnight for 2 adult humans.
But bear in mind, that's me being selective on what I eat and being careful and budgeting.
Likewise, I can't afford to fucking not budget.
Okay, if I was frivolous, which I have done for 1 week, I almost hit £200 in 1 week. I was just like,
takeaways.
That wasn't takeaways. That wasn't takeaways. No, that was me cooking the food I preferred, using ingredients I preferred, and the brands I liked, and everything else. Yeah, that's me literally going, I'm going to be lavish and have what I want, not with takeaways. And that almost hit £200 a week. I immediately turned around and cut it back and reduced it.
Jesus Christ.
Hence the reason why I can't emphasise the fact of smart shop. Go for the cheaper option. Look for your locally sourced stuff because it's far cheaper.
Yeah. Buy Britain.
Yeah.
I'm very patriotic in that. Buy Britain.
Yeah.
British made material will become a hell of a lot cheaper than any of the foreign foods.
That's where Lidl and Aldi come in, because of the fact that they do source from within the UK, and it's considerably cheaper especially on the meat front, getting it from those places, and there's no difference in taste.
No.
There absolutely is not.
Like I said, there is going to be a great deal of food that we're not going to be able to come from Lidl and Aldi.
Yeah.
If people all move to Lidl and Aldi, the shopping centre there will have to outsource, because Britain doesn't provide enough food. And this is why the attack by Rachel Reeves that we mentioned in our previous podcast, attacking the farmers, is fucking insane. Fucking insane.
Bear in mind, Tesco also do support local farmers and everything else. Obviously, depending on your area, depending on which farm it comes from. Because here, locally in Gloucestershire, my Tesco does it from Willow Farm. I think that's absolutely fantastic. It's only just down the road.
Yeah, no, completely.
Yeah. Hence the reason why if I go into Tesco, I don't buy the Tesco stuff. I look for the one that's locally sourced. With most of my stuff these days, veg, unfortunately, you can't really trace if it's locally sourced. If it is, it's usually organic,
to be fair,
and it comes with the price tag.
Yeah, but organic price tagging is just monstrous. People aren't buying as much organic.
No. I think you've actually realised there's not really much difference between organic.
The difference is small, and B, the price isn't.
Yeah.
The price isn't small.
You may get the satisfaction knowing the fact that it isn't too many chemicals being used with organic, but it's all natural.
The cost is a massive factor in the British people's mindset.
Because even in organic sector, they still got to use fertilisers and pesticides. But
pesticides are a lot more calm. I don't even think they use that much pesticides to it.
They tend to be more naturally based, that's where the price.
And some of those are greenhouse. That's the whole thing. Some of those organics are actually being greenhouse grown. So they're not even being grown in natural environment where you need to worry about it. They've got physical barriers between the insects.
Just cost of pesticides these days.
Greenhousing, any type of mass greenhousing is expensive, because you've got to heat it, water it, you've got to do everything on it for that controlled environment.
Hence the reason, if you want to save money, I strongly suggest you grow your own vegetables, even if you get a little allotment to turn around and put a greenhouse in.
A lot of people outside of the big cities might start doing that. I can see the countryside doing
there's
more
allotments in our local area which people use.
People are doing it all the time.
The only thing I have is, obviously, if you use those allotments, for the people that don't use allotments, don't be dicks and go trash it.
Yeah, completely. There's fucking
respect the property, respect other people's property. Don't turn around and assume everything can be damaged and then rebought. Not everyone can afford it, especially with the cost of everything. So the people that think that it's fun to destroy shit, go stick your head up your ass.
Absolutely, without question. Free speech. I've got a rant today about the Quakers. There was an arrest of 6 female supporters of activist group Youth Demand at a Quaker meeting house has been condemned by faith groups. What the fuck are you doing, Metpol? You dirty, racist bastards. And I don't care that that's a bit offensive, yeah? You are cunts. The last of the BNP supporters are in the fucking Metropolitan Police Force. You're arresting peaceful protesters going to rallies to try and change political policy when protesting is lawful in a liberal democracy. You jackbooted fucking Nazi bastards. And I said what I said. Metpol are scum. We're talking about Quakers, people who are almost as pacifistic as Buddhists.
That's saying a lot. How can you turn around and do that? 400
years they've been in Britain, and they are as pacifistic as fucking goddamn Buddhists. And you have the boot jackets of the Metropolitan, the worst police force in Britain, kicking down the fucking door of a faith building because you don't like what they're planning. You cunts. You're just cunts. And I said what I said. The Metropolitan Police said 6 people were arrested on Thursday evening at the Westminster Meeting House on suspicions of conspiracy to cause a public nuisance. And I tell you that now, that won't go to court. That won't go to court because Metpol know they can kick the door down, intimidate people, and then we've dropped the case because we're too full. Motherfuckers, you're evil. You're fucking evil. I know I'm ranting, but someone needs to fucking say it, that the Metpol are fucking evil.
Now see, I look at this from a common sense point of view. Why can't you just go along and peacefully knocked on the door going, I've got some concerns, I would like to sit down and talk to you to make sure nothing
conspiracy, not like you, to conspiracy to cause public nuisance. And why the fuck do we have laws that involve public nuisance? This is absurd. This is a country that has had long-standing, upstanding points of view of peaceful protests. Fucking decades of them. Centuries of them, in fact. And now we've got boot-jacketed fucking Nazi coppers, and I don't care that you don't... If you're offended by this, why are you arresting Quakers? Yeah, no, come pick a fight with a Muslim. I'm the person who will fight back. Quakers! I mean, a'udhu billah. It pisses me off because it's an encroachment on religious people. These are some of the most peaceful religious people I've ever met in my life, Chris. Paul Parker of the Quakers in Britain said he could not recall anyone being arrested at a Quaker meeting house in living memory. Again, I remind you, they're like Buddhists almost. The forceful removal of young people holding a protest group meeting clearly shows what happens when the society criminalises protest. They are. The fucking Metpol are on the orders and payroll of Zionists. Zionists complain that places like synagogues are being protested against. No, they're not. They're passing a synagogue. Most British fucking Jews are part of these protests. There's literally Auschwitz survivors who have been arrested by the fucking Metpol protesting the genocide that's going on in Israel. Genocide, yeah? You heard the motherfucker say it. Police said a further 5 arrests from the same offence were made on Friday, 4 addresses in London and 1 in Essex. Youth Demand, which is not affiliated with the Quakers, said that the meeting was an opportunity to share plans for non-violent civil resistance actions due to take place in April. You motherfuckers.
The fact that it says non-violent, yeah, which means they're literally more likely going to stand somewhere out of the way of people, but clear enough so you can see the message and then potentially look upon it yourself. How the fuck is that calling a public nuisance when they've
just
one discussing the plan, 2 would have got permission anyway from wherever they was going to do it because they're the peaceful sort, yeah, and 3 won't even hurt a frigging fly, yet you turn around and kick the door in because you're afraid they're going to do something when you haven't done your own bloody research.
The Met said that Forces understands the importance of the right to protest, but added the Youth Demand has stated an intent to shut down London in April. Motherfuckers, London is the heart of this country, and if our country's population of children want to shut it down in this fucking liberal democracy, they will shut it down, you cunts. I know, I'm fucking raving angry about this. I might even cut this part out, I might not. The reality is you don't have a right to rob the liberty and democracy of these children. You don't. There is a genocide. Our country is aiding and abetting it. They have a right to protest their views. And yet, because you're worried about a fucking nuisance, the Metropolitan Police Force are evil. I said what I said, they're evil.
The most common sense to do was literally to turn around and contact them and arrange a plan with them to make sure nothing.
Where is our democracy? Where is our liberty?
Yeah, where's the... You're now... What's it? Dictatorship is what you're trying to run
police
now.
state. Fucking police state. Where is our freedom to protest the actions of our government in support of a war criminal government? Benjamin Netanyahu is wanted for war crimes. Not by my court, by the international court. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir regime. Moving on. Assisted dying campaign have urged MPs to think to the terminally ill people who are calling out for choice. I don't like the idea of assisted dying. I believe all life is precious, even when it's in pain. You see, this is where me and Chris probably differ. He would say someone should have a peaceful way of exiting a life if they're in living pain every day. I don't. From a religious point of view, I don't. I believe that God has put you here. If their pain should inspire the doctors, inspire the nurses, the researchers to find a cure for the pain.
Obviously, there is, I would say, a regulation, if that was to go through, to be put in place. So the fact, if you are in pain and, say, I'm going to use cancer as an example here, it's terminal, but then they still predict you to live past 2, 3, maybe even 5 years, because I know some of them are slow burners. When it comes to that, absolutely not. If it's a case of the fact of, it's going to be a case within 6 months you're going to unfortunately think, that's when I think assisted dying should come into place. I don't morally agree with anyone being assisted to be killed. But then it should go into heavy
yeah, but they've pulled that out. They've pulled that out of the court because the court said it would take too long.
Yeah. It needs to go into heavy review. Obviously, make sure safeguards are put in place to make sure that there's no misdiagnosis, unnecessary waste of life, and everything else, because this should only be a last resort to extreme pain. Yeah. If there's a chance the person can pull through, then it should not even be touched.
Campaigners have urged MPs to focus on the suffering of terminally ill people who are called out for choice as their battle for assisted dying becomes embittered. With time running out for supporters of changing the laws like Dame 𝐸𝐿, whose medication for terminal lung cancer has stopped working, there was a growing anger at opposition trying to kick Leddenbury's historical bill down the line like a political football. Both sides have been vying for support as they fight over the biggest changes to the healthcare in Britain in the 21st century. Ms Leddenbury has hit back at her critics by insisting the process of crafting the landmark legislation has been thoroughly and rigorous and professional. I don't agree with anyone being assisted to die. Chris has given his objections. This came as the daughter of TV star Dame Estelle, 84, British highest profile champion of assisted dying, was no longer responding to her terminal cancer drugs. Ms Leddenbury said MPs must be allowed to decide for themselves if the right thing to do in order to give terminally ill people choices at the end of their lives and put right the injustice in the law as it stands. This is where me and my number one man here, we disagree. From a spiritual point of view, I think anybody assisting someone to be killed, a'udhu billah, and what I said earlier, that is not an indication that I want anyone to harm any part of the British Metropolitan Police Force. I was ranting, and I want that being very, very clear. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, let off steam. I do not want anybody physically harming the Metropolitan Police, but I do not agree in the most vehement position about harming or arresting Quakers or any religious folk holding peaceful, yes, mildly disruptive protests. That's lawful. That's just. That's British tradition. Britons have protested for decades, and the Metropolitan Police Force are evil when they're attacking people like the Quakers. So yeah, I was ranting, and I want to state very clearly as we come to a close towards this podcast that I do not want anyone harming any part of the Met Pole. Do not feel inspired by me. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir regime.
That's the last thing. Express your concerns and rant, fine, but do not go out and purposely target the police.
Exactly, absolutely.
You'll only end up in far more trouble than
and
somebody just doing a peaceful protest.
Exactly. And I mean, I'm ranting. I was absolutely ranting, and I'm probably going to cut out the point where I said some regrettable things. But to be quite fair, the Metropolitan Police have no right to stop peaceful protests.
They overstep their bounds.
Absolutely. And they need a clapback. They need to be democratically clapped back. because this is our country, this is our island, and I will not have boot-jacketed police officers telling me who can and cannot protest. I'm not having it. All right? And I know this is going to be quite controversial. I believe that the white supremacists who go out and wave English flags and start screaming and chucking beer cans, they're lawfully allowed to do that. But when they break the law by chucking the beer cans and challenging the police, they treat it for what they are. Peaceful protest is lawful and just in all parts of the country. And it should not be any different in London just because they go past a synagogue that may have a single Zionist feel threatened. Astaghfirullah.
Fortunately, it's called the real world, and you can't control what everyone else does.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. It's
so
madness.
There's no harm in having.
But the police answer to the government, and the government answers to us. And I should have the legal right, the unalienable right, to challenge my government and its policies, especially its policy of supporting a criminal state. Israel is currently a criminal state with criminals in charge of it. People wanted by the International Crimes Court. Not to mention Benjamin Netanyahu, who's being wanted for corruption and bribery right now in his own country. His own Attorney General wants him arrested.
How is that dude still walking about?
The America's superpower. America is a superpower. Let us not hold any jokes here. If the Attorney General of Israel actually managed to clap him in irons, I'm absolutely certain a special Delta Force will rescue him. He is one of the few people who can wield the US Senate. Wield it. Like that. He has control over it. Remember, there are pictures of Donald Trump pulling out chairs for the man. That
is disgusting. The fact that you could turn around and wield the US Senate, that says to me that there's corruption within the US Senate.
Oh yeah. AIPAC owns the Senate. AIPAC absolutely owns the US Senate. Chris, defence budget. I believe you have something you were going to say.
Let me just bring that lovely one out. There we go. Obviously, this is the report from 2023 to 24. Obviously, just an idea of where your money is going. Obviously, because people are always wondering how the defence budget is obviously spent. Obviously, between 2024, we spent 53.908 billion on the defence budget. Obviously, little breakdown for it. Capital expenditure was 17.931 billion. Nuclear defence was 2.6 billion. Service personnel, so that would be like the Army, Air Force and all that lot, the people that actually get paid to do the job, was just under 11 billion. Obviously the civilian personnel, so the people that don't deal with frontline combat and everything else, almost 2 billion. Right, equipment support, so that was, most people get this confused with obviously where is it, the DE&S. The equipment support is the maintenance of the current equipment that we got. That was almost 6 billion. Cost of operations, almost 3. I like the way they see other costs, almost 2 billion. Infrastructure.
That's going to be the infrastructure stuff.
Yeah, infrastructure is just over 5 billion. Inventory, so stuff you use and everything else within it, it's 1.5. DES, which is basically the advancement of new stuff, which I'm quite surprised how low that is. Only 1.285 billion on new advancements. That to me, that's slightly concerning. And arms length bodies, I'm not quite sure exactly what that is, but 200 million on that one.
I think it's body armour.
Yeah.
I suspect it's body armour. But going back to February, the Prime Minister cut a large section of the aid budget going for foreign aid. And that 13.4 billion that he cut is going back into the defence. So it's adding, the Prime Minister this year is adding an additional 13.4 billion.
Yeah, because they're planning on achieving a 2.5% GPD expenditure on the defence, which means obviously the figures are just read, spaced off 2.1,
I think it's
2.1.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I'm not going to lie, I would love to see it be put into the DE&S, which is the advancement of technology and also defend us. Yeah,
I love the laser tanks. The laser tanks are a brilliant idea.
I'm hoping a fair chunk goes into that one, because of the fact, obviously, the
and advancing drone warfare. We need to.
I'm going to say the advancement within warfare needs to happen, because of the fact, obviously, the loss of life is unnecessary at all costs, and advancement within obviously laser tanks, drone warfare, and all the other areas that they're looking into.
Cyber warfare, which we need to catch up with the Russians and Chinese. They're way advanced than everyone else.
Yeah, and especially within the arms length bodies, is protection of our body armor and everything else. Definitely in that. Only 200 million invested in that. That should easily be $1 billion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the rest needs the DES. I reckon should easily be matching the cost of maintenance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of almost 6 billion. 6 billion of each of them.
You see, the problem being is that Britain, back in the 2000s, was only spending 0.4 on our defence spend, or on our foreign aid. We are now spending 0.8% of our country on fucking foreign aid. Now, I'm sorry, with all the problems you hear us talking about on our podcast, we should not be spending 0.8% of our whole GDP on foreign aid. There is too much that needs to be dealt with at home. I'm glad that 13 billion is going to the military, because our military has suffered horrifically during the Conservative cut. And they are. That's exactly how they are. That's how we lost so many police. And in general, I am a very big supporter of the police force. I'm a big supporter in needing more coppers to do good work. I do have a problem with police arresting faith groups that are some of the most peaceful people I've ever met in my entire life. So I want to be clear, I'm not anti-police. I'm really not.
He's just condoning the action of that.
I'm particularly condoning the actions of attacking people in protest, because as a Liberal, I can't swallow that. I can't let that slide. Metpol do not get a free pass at attacking Quakers. If they were beating up drill rapper gangs holding knives, it wouldn't even make the podcast. It might do that they're actually doing something right for a change.
I was going to say, I made the podcast, so they're celebrating well done.
Actually, getting the real criminals
instead
of arresting innocent teenage girls and boys at a meeting in one of the most peaceful religions in the United Kingdom. And like I said, the description that I've always had from them is they're almost Quaker-like, they're almost Buddhist-like. And Buddhists are non-violent people.
Unless you push them too far.
No, seriously. Buddhists are some of the most peaceful people I've ever met in my life. Unbelievably peaceful. You've watched too many movies. You're thinking Buddhist martial artists. Buddhist martial artists are not the Buddhist population, right? Average Buddhist goes about his business and tries to avoid conflict.
The things those Buddhist martial artists can achieve is insane.
Yeah, all right. The movies are the movies. But in real life, Quakers are...
I've actually looked at it in real life. And
okay.
What they can achieve is astonishing. Not the movies. I know the movies exaggerate.
Yeah.
But what they could achieve is...
martial artists are incredible people, without a shadow of a doubt. But Quakers are incredibly peaceful people. There is, in my opinion, condemnable, no justification or reason to be attacking them in this. But getting back to the defence spending, I'm very pleased that we are concentrating more on our country, because Britain has had a foreign policy-dominated, corporate policy-dominated society, and we need to start thinking about us more. I mean, let's be fair about it. Let's take an example of the demographic of defence spending across our cousins in Europe, yeah? Germany used to spend 1.1 to 1.9 in 2014. By 2024, they're making 2.12. France was 1.8. France is now just hitting 0.6. Poland was doing 1.8 in 2014. Poland now does 4.12. Poland's like, bye-bye, we're right next door to Russia.
Gone from sitting on the back burner to boom, we're now leading everything.
Absolutely. The UK has comfortably crossed the threshold at 2.14 to 2.33. We've crossed the NATO guidelines of 2%. Spain, Italy, Netherlands, Germany needs to get its shit together. Germany really needs to get its shit. Germany needs to militarise. I need to say this.
Germany's only just meeting the requirements.
Just crossing the line.
Just crossing the line. Same with
Spain and Italy are a joke. Netherlands is in the things are getting rough. We better get our shit together. But Italy and Spain, the Mediterranean are lazy fuckers. I'm just going to say it. I don't care if I've offended people. They need to militarily pull their finger out their fucking arse. The Mediterranean does not spend... The Mediterranean, like Spain, spent 0.92% of their GDP on their defence in 2014. By 2024, it's only got up to 1.28. Fucking disastrous, Spain.
Didn't he have an economical crash at one point?
Yeah, they always do it because they constantly fuck up their economy. They don't work. Their economy is so unionised. You have to reach and balance people's rights with the right of companies to make money. Spain is a nightmare to make money with in terms of companies. Italy, just the same. 1.14 of their national spending to 1.49. Now, I'm a big supporter of the European Union, but the Mediterranean needs to get its finger out of its motherfucking arse. Poland could do it. The rest of the world can. The rest of Europe can do it.
I'm gonna say, yeah, of all the people to pull their finger out their ass, Poland.
Yeah, 2024.
I always thought the Polish were more on the try to peacefully sort everything out side.
They were. Then they saw Russia taking parts of Ukraine, and Ukraine is right next door to Poland. The Poles are like, nah. 4% of my GDP. Military. Tanks, weapons, bombs.
Selling shit. Go.
They buy from everyone in NATO. They buy from Russia. No, I don't think they buy from Russia. No, the Poles just buy from absolutely anybody, given the chance.
World War III, good luck in taking Poland.
This is what I'm saying. I mean, the last two world wars, they got run over. This time, they got teeth. Yeah, come in, Russia, come and get it.
They'll be the one doing the running over.
Russia knocks on Poland. And we think about what? As the Polish are knocking on, Mr. Putin, The Hague is waiting for you. Yes, the Polish Guard are in Moscow. I'm not joking. Their military is enormous. As I said, we are the third power in Europe these days. We used to be second behind France. We're now the third. The Polish have a more modern and advanced military than the UK does.
So Lithuania are in the EU, are they?
Yeah, Lithuania's in the EU.
Yeah, Lithuania is ahead of us.
2.85. You know where Lithuania is, don't you?
I know.
Lithuania shares a border, a direct border with Russia.
Okay.
Right fucking next door.
They've done the same as what Poland's done. Spend.
2.88. And Lithuania is a small country. It's not a big country.
I'm going to say, look at the thing, 0.88 to 2.85.
Actually, 2% went straight in 10 years.
3 times their budget.
They just ran with it. And I have to support countries that are going the extra mile to protect our European Union and our European society. And it has to be said. It has to be held out. Lithuania, Estonia again, look at Estonia. Also, same neighbourhood, 3.4.
So literally, Poland, Estonia, Lithuania, all
smashing it. Absolutely smashing it.
Remember, this isn't just coincidence that all on literally
Russia's
border, and since Russia's antics, they've all turned around and just gone, fuck you.
Yeah, spending by a train. France is spending less than us, but France is a much bigger country than Britain. I don't think people don't understand. When I say France is one of the most advanced militaries in Europe, it really is. When you break it down, currently, I think France's navy is on par with the UK navy.
Yeah. The fact that we used to be the strongest navy, and now France is on par with us, is saying we need to get our foot out our ass and become the strongest navy again. Because if I remember correctly, we were well regarded for our navy.
Oh yeah,
People feared our navy.
They have 180 ships, the French.
Damn.
1 nuclear carrier, the 𝐶 𝐷, 3 amphibious assault ships, 10 air defence and anti-submarine frigates, 5 general-purpose frigates, 9 submarines, 5 nuclear attack submarines, and 4 nuclear ballistic missile submarines. Now, Britain has always been the sub-power of Europe, and it still is. As Trident is being transferred to the Dreadnought class, we will still hold unprecedented stealth. Our subs are some of the most stealthy in the world, and unprecedented ballistic power. I'm not talking shit about the British military. I genuinely think that the teaching, the training, they're some of the most elite people in the world. They just have shit funding.
Just look at our Marines, man. Absolutely,
shit funding.
They literally trump everybody else.
Coming down to the British Navy. We, on the other hand, have British Navy size, not SEALs. Idiot.
Navy SEALs, that freaking elite.
We have 160 ships. We have 2 aircraft carriers. We are an island nation, so you can kind of expect that. We have 2 assault ships. We have 2 destroyers and a fuckload of frigates. But of course, our power sits with our nuclear submarines. which sit under the water for absolute months. Like they're literally pop up, bang, your country's dead. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, I'm just saying that's why Britain is still considered a power.
Because we got the stealth thing down, so everyone that buggers well to know, hang on, we've attacked Britain. When are they going to attack? We don't know. But we know it's coming.
The British Navy has a great deal less ships and weaponry and equipment than the French do. We've got 2 carriers. I mean, the Elizabeth and the Prince of Wales are I think mostly they work.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's one of our critical problems. Our aircraft carriers do have problems. And our assault ships, they do work. Our destroyers, absolutely, and so do our frigates. But our frigates are old. We need to get rid of the Type 23s. We need to deservice the 23s and build a whole new section of either Type 27s or a new model in its sliced. I don't know if there is a Type 27, but I know there is a Type 26 and it's already in service. We need to advance our naval power
we need an update as well.
Absolutely. And we need to
Well,
we need to beat the fucking French in Navy. If we can't fucking beat the French in Navy, what the fuck are we doing calling ourselves a power? In a European power. I'm deadly serious about that.
Hang on, the reason we're still holding our title of power is because the fact we know how to efficiently orchestrate the entire.
Yeah. No one's saying the British Navy isn't capable of doing incredible, but our army is non-existent. Let's be quite fair about it. The British Army, I don't think they could field 2 regiments.
I think we got more power within RAF and the Navy than we do the actual military.
Sure, I'm not kidding you. The British Army's the British Army has. We have the regular army has about 73,000 people. It's less than 100,000. Gurkhas 4,000. Army reserves 25,000. Other personnel. So we have a total of 100,000 people in the entire British Armed Forces army, not armed forces, the army. So we have pretty close to 2.5 regiments in Britain, and that's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. We have 670 aircraft, so that's pretty good.
Actually, I know. I think that's literally confirming what I thought. Our RAF and our Navy is better than our military at the moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Our ground forces are unfortunately woefully underpaid, woefully underskilled.
I think we specialise in long distance warfare.
We do, but we still, if we specialised in long distance warfare, Chris, we would. In my humble opinion, I still think we need more infantry. We need to put at least 100,000 actual infantry.
I was going to say, we do actually need, as I call the brick wall stood behind it naturally, and if the brick wall is only a frigging garden wall, then it needs to upgrade to be a massive brick wall.
Absolutely. In my mind, we need to have 4 working regiments. 120,000 men is an ideal position. Then all the support, then all of the special forces on top of that. Then I would say we need at least 1,000 fucking fighters. There's no way, 670 is not enough. We need 1,000 dedicated fighters. We need at least 200 heavy warships. We need to massively invest in our submarine warfare. Submarines will guarantee we will never be invaded. If we have attack submarines on top of our nuclear submarines, no one's crossing this island. Because the attack submarines sink the landing ships. The nuclear submarines are there to obviously deter nuclear warfare. But you don't want the nuclear submarines doing the dangerous work of actually sinking fucking landing ships and destroyers.
No, they
need to stay hidden. They're a hidden asset deliberately.
They stay hidden and ready to...
If the unthinkable happens, obviously.
They're ready to counteract the stupidity.
But that's why we need actual attack submarines. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a pleasure. I am going to be doing some cutting. I'm pretty sure of it. Calling in my outburst an act of violence against the Met Pole is wrong. I know it is now that I've calmed. But the rage because of what they've done to the Quakers is very real. They have no right mistreating them, and they are a very peaceful religious people. They've been in this country for 400 years. I have a problem with that. I have a serious problem with that. But if you've made it to the end, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm John, Sean, or Yahya, depending on who you're asking, and this motherfucker is Chris as always.
And I hope you all have a smashing day.
Absolutely. And a lovely Easter for all of you Christians out there who may or may not watch us, yeah? And anybody who wants the Easter holidays, the sun is coming out and it's looking nice.
I'm going to say, British weather, British sun's upon us, enjoy it what you can. Yes,
April, British summer's arrived. June, July, they're wet. on the traditional side. Lovely to speak to you. Always a pleasure. Thank you for staying for podcast 15. Went well. I went well. I think I went well.